Mr. Tripathi, Mr. Srivastav, Mr. Waklu, my colleague Neela, and Chairman Scope, and all my friends present here. It's very important session to be with you and share our thoughts on PSUs. My senior colleagues, both Mr. Tripathi as well as Mr. Srivastav, have very nicely traced the growth of PSU in the country, how we have started and what kind of changes have taken place, and also the utility or the critical role which PSUs are playing and are going to play in future. I won't like to get into so much of details of a PSU and its role. I would like to just briefly share my thoughts relating to the PSUs which we are having in our ministry. I am from Housing and Urban Poverty Alleviation Ministry. We have very close relationship with Urban Development Ministry because we look at urban housing, so housing and infrastructure go hand in hand. So I would talk little bit about the PSUs which we have and then how we are trying to, see the role for them in the growth. I also had a chance to work in PSU earlier in my previous tenure in Government of India, and that was in Textile Ministry. And naturally, we also had a chance to be associated very closely with PSUs when we work in the estates. And let me tell you very clearly, the kind of human resources or the kind of knowledge base which the PSUs have is perhaps very difficult to find. At the same time, we should also be very live to the challenge and the criticism we face in public domain. All of us are aware about various kinds of criticism and various kinds of talks which the PSUs face. I'm quite happy that one of the sessions in this conference is also relating to the security in PSU and the kind of vigilance, how to protect the public money and then what PSUs are doing. Because that's something very important that people should know, that there is a mechanism, these mechanisms are quite robust and then that they can be useful. Similarly, another thing which we have to keep in mind is, we all know that PSUs also have to fulfill certain social responsibilities which often private sector may not be able to take up. But we should also be aware of the challenge that often we are opening up various sectors for the private participation, and that is the need of the day, and perhaps that is what is going to happen more and more in future. So keeping that in mind, public sectors also have to introspect. And I am saying it because I have also got a chance of working in public sector undertakings directly. So I can very easily relate with the executives of the public sector and what kind of constraints they face. See, there is certainly need of more operational flexibility, but also there is a need to look at profitability within the PSU. We know that there are responsibilities, social responsibilities, but why profitability is important? Because that will inherently bring more and more professionalism and more effective use of resources. So that sensitization is absolutely necessary, and the conferences of this kind will certainly bring to focus the need to get into that and then how we can improve our own process engineering. This is a very good forum because initially we got a lot of chance to look at the e-governance and then the use of IT. And also you have a session on this, the technology-driven PSUs. I think one of the sessions you are going to talk about modern technology and how we can really improve ourselves. So whatever sector a PSU is working, perhaps that will be a real challenge. You have met this challenge of competing with other sectors, and then you have come a long way. Certainly the PSUs will have to keep on pacing their growth along with these challenges which will come. Now very quickly I will tell you about the housing. As we know, urbanization and housing, they are very, very critical, and then by 2050, the expected thing is more than 50% of the population is going to be in the urban areas. So that is the challenge of urbanization. We have got two PSUs, HUDCO and Hindustan Prefab Limited, and then these are all very old PSUs. They have done a lot of work, and then about HUDCO, one of my colleagues is going to talk a little bit more in detail after me. So what I will say that now the kind of role these PSUs are playing, and then I am giving this as an example because not many private sector will be in a position to fulfill these roles. Now the roles are We have recently launched the urban agenda of the government, all of you are aware, and much talked about a smart city mission, Amrut mission, and housing for all mission. Now, I will talk little more about housing for all, because that's what we are directly implementing. Now, it's a very, very revolutionary mission in a way that we have tried to bring an integrated approach, and then there is one particular arm of this program, that is Credit Link Subsidy Scheme. HUDCO is going to play a major role there. So when we look at government mission, I am giving this as an example, when we look at different missions, we have to also, that's perhaps the role of the ministry, to look at the PSUs and then perhaps give them an orientation, talk with them, and then see how they can be catalyst of bringing this kind of ambitious mission. So HUDCO is central nodal agency, which will be helping various banks and then the individuals. And this is a scheme which is going to create a huge demand for housing in the lower income group. And please note, the lower income group, the income limit has been raised to 6 lakhs. So many of the people in various, some of the employees also will be fitting into this category, and they will be able to get this particular thing. Similarly, we are also looking at the challenge to sustainability development goal. All of us are aware that we are moving from MDG to SDG. And that is where again, HUDCO, and there is an organization within HUDCO, HSMI, Human Management Settlement Institute, they are playing a major role in developing a national report on urbanization challenges, which will be taken up by the UN in the next year. The Habitat 3 conference will be there. So we are all very actively working, and the PSUs are playing a major role, keeping in mind the long-term perspective of urbanization in the country, and looking at the global trends, and then looking and reflecting upon our own country scenario and realism, and then doing it. Similarly, Hindustan Prefab Limited is also playing a major role in technology upgradation of housing, prefab construction. In the Housing for All, we also have a technology submission. And in that, we are trying to bring in construction technology. At the same time, we are also looking forward to using increased use of IT and GIS in planning, as well as monitoring of these projects, as well as building bylaws, and then town planning and all those things. So again, these PSUs are playing an important role in helping the ministry in achieving its vision. So it's up to us. If we just allow PSUs, or if we just tell them to keep on doing their routine work, and then don't associate or don't give them pride of place in some of the ambitious mission of the government, then certainly there is going to be a disconnect. So I think we have to again reflect upon the overall scenario, overall changes taking place in the economy, and then continuously PSUs will have to be on move to readjust, redefine their roles, improve their internal business process, and see that you are ultimately going to compete. That corporate governance has to improve. Already we have come a long way, and then a lot of improvement has already taken place. So these are some of the challenges which we have to keep in mind. There has to be very good compatibility and alignment with the government's overall vision and the PSU's actual activities. And then we have to also identify newer areas. We have to globalize some of our operations. So these are some of the things which we will have to keep into consideration. I am quite happy that I got a chance to come, and I also take this opportunity to thank the organizers and also congratulate the various award winners in the different category. Thank you.